Okay, so thank you for joining us today to talk about the Saudi legal system and dispute resolution in Saudi Arabia. My name is Nick O'Connell. I am a partner in Al-Tamimi & Company's Riyadh office. I specialize in technology, media, and telecommunications, but I'm here today with my learned friend, Dr. Ahmed Basrawi, who is one of our key dispute resolution lawyers in Saudi Arabia. So, Ahmed, if you could perhaps briefly introduce yourself.
Hi, Nick. Thank you very much for this. I am Ahmed Basrawi, Head of Litigation and partner in Jeddah office, Al-Tamimi. And as you know, Al-Tamimi is very specialized in the litigation and dispute resolution. We have a huge practice in the litigation and dispute resolution with very specialized team. The background of the team is diverse. We have Saudi lawyers and Arab lawyers and also international lawyers who hold the best practice in the world and in different jurisdictions. We can tell about we know about many practices within. We have also a specialized team in other departments who support us in any specialized dispute. For example, if we have a dispute related to the TMT, we work with your team as usual closely to know better about the practice and about what we need to absorb for the technical informations, legal side. And I'm happy to be with you to chat about the dispute resolution in Saudi Arabia.
Fantastic. So as I mentioned before the call, the intended audience here is really foreign businesses that are looking at doing business in Saudi Arabia, and particularly those that might be concerned because the Saudi system is not something they know anything about. Really, we're assuming that people don't know much about it, and we're going to, I think, start off with a brief introduction to the legal system of Saudi Arabia generally, and then we're going to move on to some dispute resolution related topics, including the structure of the court system, enforcement of judgments, and we'll touch on also arbitration as well. So yeah, perhaps if we just start off talking about the legal system in Saudi Arabia generally, my experience as someone from outside the region, I'm not from Saudi originally. I should let our viewers know, but I mean, there is a fair bit of mystery surrounding Saudi Arabia. People don't know what goes on there. There's talk of the law is Sharia law, etc., etc., and yeah, I'm not sure that the mysterious perception is that well deserved. My own experience, so I'm a common law qualified lawyer, but I have been working in the Middle East for about 15 years, I think. And one of the things that I've noticed about Saudi that seems a little bit different, and this is a bit of a history point more than anything else, but the other Gulf countries have taken heavily from Egypt in terms of their legislative, their approach to legislation. Essentially, Egypt adopted French civil law when Napoleon was in Egypt many years ago, and the French civil law was blended with some Sharia concepts and so on. And most of the Gulf states ended up borrowing closely from the laws that were developed in Egypt. So in my experience, many of the countries in the region, they have very similar laws on certain topics. They have, civil codes, this type of thing. Saudi, it's not quite the same as those other Gulf states, is it?
Yes, from the beginning, we need to understand Saudi Arabia is a modern state, like any normal modern state. We have separation of powers. We have the king is the head of the whole country, and we have three independent powers: executive, legislature, and judiciary powers. Those powers is under the umbrella of the basic law in Saudi Arabia, and the basic law is like a constitution law, and that organized the powers of the all of any judiciary or executives to make sure there is a separation of powers. In Saudi Arabia, we apply Sharia law as the constitution of the country, because Saudi Arabia is a modern state and Islamic state as well. As an Islamic state, we adopt the Sharia and apply Sharia on all our life aspects, including the legal system, because we are Islamic states, and we hold Al-Haramain, Mecca and Medina, and we are care about all the citizen in Saudi Arabia, because all the citizen is Muslim, 100% Muslims, and also we are open to other cultures to get on other people to get from their input on our life and cultures, and also we are open to learn from different area of the world. We are influenced by Egypt. We are influenced by United States of America in some legal aspects, as I will mention. In general, we apply Sharia law, which consists of Quran and Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also we have a modern legislations issued by the legislator in Saudi Arabia.
I think, Ahmed, just on that point, so that the viewers can sort of understand what you're saying there. I think, and even before I came to the region, I didn't really sort of understand this. But when you say that, like in practical terms, when you are looking at legislation, and when in the same breath you're saying that Sharia law is the law of Saudi Arabia, I think it's important for people to understand that in practical terms, what that means, especially, and we're talking to commercial clients here. When we say that Saudi law is based on Sharia, etc., we're often talking about essentially when modern legislation is drafted, it's one of the parts of the legislative drafting process is considering the law to make sure that it is not inconsistent with Sharia requirements. So, for example, if you were drafting, or if the legislature was the Bureau of Experts is the legislative drafting body, right? So if they are producing a law on government procurement contracts, then it would be very much a modern government procurement contract law. But as they prepare it, they would review it and just make sure conceptually, are there any things in here that are inconsistent with Islamic law requirements? So a very easy example for our audience to understand would be, the idea of interest, as a penalty, or interest payments. So, if the Saudi legislative body was producing a law on government procurement, they would not put a provision in there that says you must pay interest on money outstanding, because that would be inconsistent with Sharia. And I think that type of example is helpful for foreign audiences. Another good example perhaps would be, I work in the technology space, so I do a lot of work in terms of like cloud computing. Now, people might say, oh, well, how is, cloud computing, how, what does Sharia say about cloud computing? And I guess the point is Sharia doesn't say anything in particular about cloud computing. It's just that when the cloud computing regulations are drafted, one of the things that they will think about is there anything material in here that could be considered inconsistent with Islamic principles? And if something had made it into the legislative drafting that was inconsistent, then it would be modified or removed. So it's important for people to know we are still operating in a country that has statutes. We have modern statutes, we have laws. It's not that everything, there's no laws except for the Quran or the Sunnah. We actually have laws, we have legislation, we have government procurement laws, we have cloud computing laws or regulations, etc., etc. So, people should not have the idea that there's no law in Saudi Arabia except for, the Islamic law. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I think you have what you have mentioned is very good examples, and I want to add to that one. We have, for example, the labor law. The labor law in Saudi Arabia, we have the labor law for more than 60 years, and at the beginning of the modern state was established. We have also the commercial court law, which concentrate on the maritime law, which is concentrate on the commercial papers. We have adopted the law we brought those laws from Egypt, from other country, to fill any gap we think we need to have an opinion about it. But we want to make sure in those laws there is no any contradicting with the Sharia principles, and the Sharia principles is very wide and liberal in relation to the freedom of party to contract and make an agreement. We just have two issues we need to highlight it in Sharia, which is forbidden. It's called a riba, which is mean interest in somehow. You want to make sure that bargain is fair, and also something related to the uncertainty, which Sharia didn't like other laws, many laws, they against the uncertainty. But in general, we have adopted those laws from years and years, and we have our employment or our labor law is very advanced, like more than many other developed countries. We have a balanced relationship between the employers and the employees, and also we have law govern the foreign investors' activity in Saudi Arabia. We have company law. We have many. We have more than 200 legislation in Saudi Arabia, which cover many things. And also the Sharia, I can tell you, is soon will be codified like other countries. But okay, for now, any issue in relation to applying Sharia, because we have practice. The court is published the precedent on the websites. We have a advanced research engine now. You can see the court how apply Sharia. There is no ambiguity, in my opinion, for anyone to understand how the Sharia is applied in the court itself. And in the modern life, we have all the activity which is not contradict with the Sharia principles.
Right. In fact, the point that you've just made there, it is a point that we regularly hear from foreign litigants or foreign clients when they're asking us about what are the risks of having Saudi law as governing law or Saudi courts as the the dispute resolution forum. And I think traditionally there is this perspective that Saudi courts, like Saudi court decisions, traditionally they haven't been widely available, right? So you could not, there was not, or there is not a strict precedent type concept in the way that there might be in common law jurisdictions, for example. So lower courts don't have to follow, or courts don't have to follow precedent in the way that they might in other jurisdictions. And also, I think to a degree there has been less transparency because there isn't the tradition of publishing court decisions, right? So, I mean, do you think that it's a fair comment that traditionally the court decisions have not been as transparent as they might be in other countries, and also the approach to precedent is not the same as you might find in other countries, and that can create uncertainty? What do you think about that?
I agree and disagree with those points. Before 10 years ago, to be honest with you, we have these problems, and part of this stereotype has a reflection on the reality at that time. But to be fair, after 5 years, before 5 or 6 years, the King Abdullah issued at that time, or no, 2007 to be accurate, issued a reform for the whole judicial system and the legal system in Saudi Arabia. But it wasn't that fast at that time. But when the Vision 2030 is published, the government the Ministry of Justice take it very serious in relation to the transparency of the judgment in the country. The whole judgment is available now on the portal. Now 2 years ago, 2,300 Sharia principles which applied in the judicial system in Saudi Arabia and is available. And now the appeal court make sure that the first instance judgment was follow the rules, and also we have the Supreme Court, which the main rule for her to look after how Sharia is applied and integrated, and the other legislation, not focusing on the Sharia. Also, we want to make sure there is no any judgment against the legislation or the law, even if it's not Sharia.
Yeah.
We are also apply the governance inside the judicial system to make sure they're following the procedure which is set forth in the law itself.
Okay.
But I think it's totally changed. For the last 3 years, we have witnesses a new era of the judicial system and Saudi law itself. The legal system is changed to the better in this year.
Sorry, my phone's just ringing behind me there. Look, I mean, that leads us nicely into the next sort of broad topic, which is basically the structure of the court system. So my understanding is that there are a variety of specialist courts or dispute resolution forums, and that there's also, a sort of multi-tiered approach as well, your courts of first instance and so on. But perhaps if you could very sort of generally talk us through, like broadly speaking, what are the different types of courts? There's the commercial courts, right?
Yes, we have the primary structure for the judicial system court in Saudi Arabia is 3. We have a general judiciary, and we have administrative judiciary, and we have judicial committees and quasi-judicial committee. General judiciary, it's looking of many areas, is under the umbrella of Ministry of Justice, but it's totally, I want to make sure everyone knows, is totally independent judiciary system we have in Saudi Arabia. There is no involvement from any authority or other authority in the country. They are just apply the law and as it is without any involvement from any other authority. That general judiciary have criminal courts. They have family courts to look after the personal issues, family issues, inheritance, And also we have a labor court which look at the labor disputes. And also we have a commercial court which look after the commercial disputes in the country. And also we have a general court which mainly look after anything not falling under the previous four courts. And also we have execution court, which called enforcement court.
Right.
Those courts
enforcement court sounds a bit better in English.
Enforcement court. Yeah. Those five courts is considered as a first instance courts. We have appeal court for the general judiciaries, and the appeal court, we have many appeal courts and specialized courts. We have appeal for labor court. We have appeal for appeal committee courts for commercials. Is very specialized appeal court. Is not just general courts. And also we have the Supreme Court, which is one court in Riyadh to supervise or look at how the Sharia and the law is applied in the court, and looking at this integrity of law, and also issuing the principles, judicial principles to follow from the first instance and the appeal court in the other cases. For my point of view, I think this is the structure is similar to many modern state, and because also we applied the administrative court system like other civil country like France, like Egypt, like other countries, we have independent court reported to the king in relation to any dispute when the government is a part of these disputes.
So this administrative court, is this what is sometimes referred to as the Board of Grievance? Is that the same thing, or is the Board of Grievance part of it, or what?
Yes, it is the same. The Board of Grievance is the umbrella of the administrative court. Yeah. The Board of Grievance has administrative court for first instance, and they have appeal administrative court, and they have Supreme Court, Supreme Administrative Courts. Right. It's similar to the similar hierarchy of the general judiciary courts.
Okay.
Though this court is looking for or investigate in the cases when the government issue any decisions and you want to revise it. For example, if we have a foreign investors has a problem with the Ministry of Finance not getting his license, or his license is expired and not renewing his license, and has any dispute with the government, he goes to independent specialized administrative court.
Right. Okay.
Also, this court looking after has jurisdiction on the administrative contract. Like, for example, when you mentioned the public procurement law, any dispute arise related to public procurement law has a jurisdiction of administrative court.
Okay. So basically, contracts with the government would be subject to the jurisdiction of the administrative court, and complaints relating to government actions, such as actions of ministries or failure to act on the part of a ministry or a department, would also be subject to the jurisdiction of the administrative court. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And also, because we believe in Saudi Arabia, they believe in more specialty for some of the business activity. We have also specialized committee has a judiciary power.
Okay.
For example, tax issues, because the tax has accounting elements. We have committee for custom disputes. This is independent authority as well. And also we have banking disputes, financial capital market disputes, insurance disputes committee. Those committee is first instance and the appeal as well, appeal stage.
So, what if, like, let's for argument's sake, say that there was some a banking related problem, and you went to the banking committee. Are you saying that the banking committee would issue a decision, and then when you appealed that decision, it would also go back to that same committee? Or
no, they go to the appeal committee, which is different than the committee.
And can you appeal it to the regular courts after that, or is that not possible?
No, some quasi committees like the competition. When we have a competition, we have a competition committee is related to the looking after any violation of the competition law. You can appeal the decisions before the administrative court. Okay. But that's why I said that we have a judiciary committee and we have quasi judiciary committee. The quasi quasi committees, you can appeal before the administrative court, which is few now, is related to fraud, anti-fraud, anti-commercial fraud committee, and I think is the one related to competition.
Okay.
Banks is fully judiciary. They have first instance and they have appeal, custom as well, tax as well.
Okay. So that the committees and the, what do you call them? Judicial committees and quasi-judicial committees, is that what they're called? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Look, just while we carry on the conversation, I need to plug in my laptop because the battery's running out. But I just wanted to raise a point that people often raise with me, and that is, you know, the issue of if you've got a contract, what are the concerns with having Saudi law and Saudi courts, or particularly Saudi courts, as the dispute resolution forum in a commercial contract? Can you talk about that for a moment? And I'm still here. I'll just turn my camera and mic off while I fix my power.
Yeah, can you just repeat the question?
Sorry.
Can you just repeat the question? I didn't hear.
So the question is, like, very often clients will come to me and they will say, we don't want our contract to be subject to Saudi courts. Okay, so they'll ask us to review maybe a standard contract or maybe a contract that they have received from a government partner or a Saudi partner, and they say, oh yeah, but we want it to be the law of you know, the law of England and Wales rather than law of Saudi Arabia, and we want the courts to be English courts, not Saudi courts, etc. So, I mean, one of the issues that we often encounter is that very often contracts relating to government procurement matters, you know, there is a requirement that those contracts are subject to Saudi courts. Okay, so if you're having if you're a foreign partner looking to do a deal with a Saudi government entity, there's a very high likelihood that the point about the governing law and the dispute resolution mechanism being Saudi courts is not negotiable. And it's not negotiable because of government procurement requirements that say the dispute resolution forum must be Saudi courts. For example, there are limited exceptions to that. So in some instances, when a foreign client is coming to me saying, but we don't want it to be Saudi courts, in some instances, there's no flexibility on that point, depending on the project. But another issue that I think is very material is a decision from a Saudi court might not be, a decision from a foreign court might not be enforceable in Saudi Arabia, or a decision from Saudi Arabia might not be enforceable elsewhere. So, for example, if an English client came to me and said, oh, it must be you know, governing the jurisdiction provision must be English courts, then I sort of think that through, and it might be that, okay, they have a dispute, they take it to the English court, they get an English court decision, and they try to enforce it against the counterparty in Saudi, and they might find they can't enforce it, or they can't conveniently enforce it. And then vice versa, if there was a dispute in Saudi, and before the Saudi courts, and a decision was issued by Saudi courts, maybe that decision could not be enforced back in England. So when clients are insisting that they just have their home jurisdiction as the governing law and the responsible courts, it may not actually be possible in some instances, or it may not be beneficial in other instances, depending on what the transaction is, you know, who is more likely to be in breach, you know, what type of breaches are more likely to occur, that type of thing. So, I mean, that was what I was thinking of. But is there anything else that you can tell us about enforcement of Saudi court decisions outside Saudi Arabia, or enforcement of foreign court decisions inside Saudi Arabia?
Yes, what you said, we see it many times. We study many cases arise with the contract. The client came to me, said, please help me, I have this contract, and when they look at the applicable law, I said I saw English law, and I saw the jurisdiction is outside Saudi Arabia. The problem is the people need to understand where the assets of the defendant, for example, where you want to enforce from the beginning of the contract, where the execution of law, the contract. When you look at the contract, for example, you want to do IT services for a Saudi company, they need to apply the Saudi law, because there is a requirement for Saudi law to be inside the contract, and also govern the element of the contract. Also, the assets of the other party is in Saudi Arabia. That's why it should be Saudi law is the applicable law, and they have a jurisdiction on Saudi court, or they can choose arbitration. Right. The arbitrations has a wide acceptance because they have New York conventions, which is I think the most of the countries is part of these conventions, is easy to be enforceable in Saudi Arabia and anywhere else. In general, in Saudi Arabia, enforcement is very advanced system and very serious system. We have an advanced law for the enforcement for any Saudi court judgment. And also, we have rules and regulations related to the foreign judgment to be enforced.
Is this judgments or arbitral awards?
We have both. We have judgment. You can enforce foreign judgment, but two conditions. It needs to be issued from based on the convention, international convention in Saudi Arabia or that country. For example, if the court in the UAE issued the judgment, you can enforce it here under the umbrella of Riyadh Convention between the Arab countries.
So what you're talking about is if there's a treaty such as the Riyadh Convention, whereby basically the Arab states agree to recognize each other's judicial decisions. So essentially you're talking about either the treaties or some other mutual judicial recognition arrangement between the countries. So I think like Saudi, in practical terms, except for the Riyadh Convention members, so those Arab states, Saudi doesn't have a great number of bilateral mutual judicial recognition treaties. I think does it have one with France? maybe?
We have one. We have, even when you have the treaties, you not also to prove that France treated Saudi judgment with the same way.
Yeah. Sorry, I should say I'm not 100% sure about France, but the point is that there's not a great number of countries with whom Saudi does have this relationship. So the idea that
Mainly is Riyadh conventions. Mainly is Riyadh conventions or the other states.
Other Arab states.
Yeah. Otherwise, it need to be arbitration under the New York conventions.
Okay. So even with the New York Convention, I mean, my understanding is theoretically it's possible, but it hasn't been widely done, right? So there haven't been that many arbitral awards enforced in Saudi Arabia under the pursuant to the New York Convention. Is that your understanding?
No, I think I disagree. In Tamimi, we enforced tens of the arbitral award issued by ICC and London Court of Arbitrations. We enforced many of those based on the Saudi enforcement law. We recognized the foreign arbitral awards, even also the IFC and the IAC in Dubai. We enforced many of those arbitral awards. We have a great experience in this one. It doesn't be an issue, but the only part, because we have in our Saudi arbitration law, we have a partial enforcement. For example, if you awarded $1 million plus 10% interest, we will enforce the 10 million, and the court will exclude the 10% from the award to be not enforceable because it's against Sharia. This is the only we have. But in general, Saudi law is recognized the arbitral award if it's issued from the country or the place of arbitration is treated Saudi Arabian the same.
Yeah. Okay.
And also it wasn't in the brief, it was take a long time, but nowadays it's getting faster than before. In procedures.
Okay. Look,
but you raised a very important point in my view about the people need to think about many factors when they choose the applicable law and the jurisdiction clause. There is no one solution fit all the transactions. It depends on the transaction. It depends on the amount of the deal, where they enforced, where the party is located. They need to be well detailed about this and aware about it. It's not just have using the template, normal template, and they have and use it with all. We have witnesses many problems with the principal and distributors, and they have a very weird or not practical dispute resolution clauses. For that reason, I think they need to be advised about what they need to or what they need in the future about any dispute when it arises, what the law is applicable. I think they need to pay to make a decision based on the stereotype. They need to make the decision on the factors we have.
Yeah, got it. Okay, look, that's fantastic. I think we can probably leave it there. I know that well, the viewers might be interested to know that we produced a book called Doing Business in Saudi Arabia, and I'll ask when Joe puts the webinar together, I'll ask her to drop the link that's on our website to that Doing Business in Saudi Arabia book. And it also includes a chapter on dispute resolution type stuff, so people can take a look at that. I know that the book is currently in the process of being updated, so the dispute resolution chapter, I think, might need a little bit of work but it's still a good broad brush explanation as to the Saudi dispute resolution landscape, I guess you could say. So look, thanks very much for your time today, and thanks to anyone who has tuned in. I think you know, I've learned a few things here, and I hope everyone else has as well. So thanks, Ahmed.
Thank you very much. I hope it's good. I hope.
Take care. All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Joanna.
Thanks, Joe.